Coming at you from the frozen tundra that is East Central Alberta, Canada, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Float, Odyssey, Telegram, Twitch, and the Prepper Broadcast Network. Welcome back to the workshop where we create community, find freedom, promote preparedness, and share success. I am Toolman Tim, and today is August 22nd, and this is episode 159 of the Workshop Podcast. Today's going to be the second part of the very enjoyable conversation I had with John Willis. So real quick, get the announcements out of the way. I've been plugging this like crazy, but it's because I believe in it and you guys have supported me, so thank you. Patch of the Month Club. So go to patchofthemonth.co, not .com, .co. And every month you will receive a tactical patch of the month. Going to be something humorous, something to do with prepping, whole bunch of different designs on the way with Velcro on the back, $10 a month or $100 for the year. Go by, like I said, patchofthemonth.co at my website, and you can sign up today. And number 2, join the Telegram group, guys. I love that group. They are like a second family at this point. Every time I have some sort of thing I need to kick around or discuss, or somebody has a business idea they want to start, they bring it to the group. We beat it around. We beat it to death. We talk about whatever's going on for those people and try to come up with actual actionable solutions for them. So if you haven't, go by there, check that out. In today's tool, we're going to stick with the same one we had yesterday because it's such a damn good deal. Link is in the description, but it is the DURMAX 4850 watt dual fuel generator, gasoline and propane, on for less than half price. Normally it is $599. It's on for $230. Cheap enough that I ended up ordering one, and it's still going to be cheaper than buying it up here by bringing it across the border. So if you're interested, that is the tool of today. And with that, let's slide into part number 2 of my incredible conversation with John Willis from SOE. I had another question I was going to ask you. So you say sometimes you buy things, just cheap from Tractor Supply, and sometimes you buy quality. So what's your opinion? I mean, obviously the shit you make is quality, and I know you believe in quality, but how do you decide whether to buy top of the line or throwaway?
So when I was buying throwaway, I couldn't afford top of the line. I don't buy throwaway.
Right.
I'm not buying any tools from Harbor Freight.
Right.
I was at Harbor Freight yesterday. I bought little spring clips to diffuse these LED lights with, right? I buy zip ties. I buy big packages of zip ties. We'll buy little shit sometimes there. I bought a winch for the front of a couple of these four-wheelers out here. But I don't buy a lot of tools. I for the most part, I'm buying Milwaukee or, something. I'm a Craftsman guy. I have tons of Craftsman stuff. I wouldn't buy Craftsman anymore. There's a lot of U.S.-made. Milwaukee shit's U.S.-made now. They got a ton of tools that are U.S.-made right now that they just released even. So I'm kind of buying just better stuff. My son buys a lot of Cobalt stuff, and he's pretty tough on it. Like, he doesn't take care of it for sure, and his shit's all running. I've heard guys even say like the Hart Power Tools guys are happy with.
Guys I watch as far as reviewers, a lot of them love the Hart stuff.
Yeah.
Have you had any run-in with the Ego stuff at all? The green from Lowe's?
Man, I hear good stuff about it. I know my friend Tad.
Yeah,
he likes that stuff. Amanda was just sitting on an Ego lawnmower,
zero turn
batteries and shit. We were just messing around with that thing at Home Depot the other day. I don't own any of it just because I bought Cobalt originally because Cobalt had an 80-volt chainsaw.
Yes.
So since I had that battery, I bought the blower. And then I bought the chainsaw. Then I bought the hedge trimmer. Then I bought the string trimmer. Then I bought the battery. Now, I bought that battery power mower and that hedge trimmer with the thought, if I ever needed to feed rabbits, I could just mow and bag clover and then use that to feed rabbits too. And it's very, very quiet, right? I could do it. Nobody would hear it happen. Well, since then, I've been mowing around pumpkins and hitting rocks and shit. And the string trimmer and the mower are very underpowered compared to a gas walk-behind mower. But for doing what I bought it for, works perfect.
I run, so like I said, full-fledged battery gear for our landscaping. We've got 14 or 15 lawns. I can't remember. My son's doing them all now for me. So if you're doing residential or you're doing like weekly upkeep mowing, they're perfect for that. And the DeWalt 60 volt trimmer has been great There's only once I had to pull out my gas still this summer when we did an overgrown lot for the town. They hired us because it was just completely overgrown, and we were going through battery too quick because it was just, it heats up, it works harder, and it just wears down faster. The Ego, did she try the battery one at all, or just sat on it?
They didn't have batteries in it,
Okay.
which is smart because we'd have drove that motherfucker all over the place. We showed up the road here a couple miles. They had cut a couple of acres of timber, like real timber.
Yep.
Like walnut trees and pecan trees and oaks. And they came through, dropped it all to the ground, limbed it up, and they're putting a church in. So we went up there with, I think I had 4 guys, 2 trucks, 2 trailers. And we showed up with 455 ranchers and what's the orange? Echo chainsaws.
Yeah.
So real gas saws. And Scully showed up with a DeWalt 40. I think it was a 40 volt chainsaw. Maybe it was before the 60 even, right?
Would have been the 40 then.
And we're laughing at him. We're like, dude, what are you going to do with that bullshit? Good thing I got another saw for you. He goes, you watch. And it had a self sharpener built in that 40 volt chainsaw.
Oh, yeah.
So all he had to do was keep pouring bar oil in there and I think he had 3 batteries, and he had a charger that he's charging off of a 12 volt in the truck, right? And we're constantly adjusting chains, having to mess with chains, put fuel in these things, and he outcut us all day long, man. There wasn't a hitch with that thing. And we were cutting up, 4-inch, 5-inch limbs, filling them into the trailer because we're bringing them back here to run them through a chipper. And man, I was super impressed. So I started looking at like Lowe's and Home Depot, and for years you couldn't buy a DeWalt chainsaw anywhere local. They just weren't here. They had
weird.
Johnson Rad, that red stuff.
Yep.
They had Husqvarna. They have all that shit, but you could not buy a DeWalt chainsaw. And now they've got 60 volt, and they've got dual battery stuff out for their mowers and all kinds of stuff. So I don't know. I haven't made the jump to the expensive, like the new Milwaukee mower that's out. I think it takes 2 batteries. I think like $1,600, man. And they're not as fast. There's nothing battery powered lawn equipment that runs as fast as gas. I've got an Exmark, and I've got a commercial Kubota D21, a diesel mower, and I've got an Exmark laser 60-inch gas mower. It runs 30 miles an hour. Like, the thing runs so fast. It'll
cut at that speed?
Yeah, it'll cut as fast as you can run, man. I can't run it full speed because my property's not groomed enough. It will literally throw you out without the seatbelt on. And I've got a 20-inch light bar on it. I go out and mow in the dark all the time. And that thing runs, I mean, it runs frighteningly. You're like, holy shit, I better not fall off of this thing. And there's not a piece of electric equipment out there that can do that yet.
No, 100%. 3 summers ago, I ran still gas gear for years.
Yep.
And I had a beautiful still gas chainsaw. Ran it for, we do landscaping, that kind of shit. We cut a whole old rotten pine tree down. Thing worked beautiful for that. Went to the next house to trim up some limbs. Couldn't get it to start. I don't know if it overheated, it flooded, whatever it was. I got so mad. I threw it in the back of the truck, and I ordered a 60 volt DeWalt that day. Ever since, it's a little, I love it. It's slightly underpowered, definitely compared to gas. But you know what? It can sit for years, and I can pick it up, turn it on, and it works every single time.
That's what we're running in the trucks, right? We're running battery-powered stuff in the trucks so that we don't have the fuel inside the cabs of the trucks, right? I have SUVs. So for storm season, we're out, we're coming back, something's blowing a tree down across the highway. We can winch it out, we can push it out, we can cut it up if we have to. And that's what we're running is battery-powered in the trucks now. But as far as power and cutting big stuff, you're not going to get a 22-inch bar on these things. You're not going to.
Their sweet spot is that 4 to 6 inch stuff. They can go through that faster. Yes. Because another job we did for the town, it was an unsightly premises that was abandoned. We went over and limbs everywhere, beautiful stuff. We trimmed that all up, but then the actual base of the tree was there, about a 20-foot length and probably 16, 18 inches in diameter. I wasn't getting through that with my DeWalt. It just,
Nope.
it barrels down, right? But the small stuff all day long.
Yeah, homeowner for limbing and cutting trails that are overgrown. I've got some big trees here that are standing dead. My friend Chris is going to come in and actually professionally cut them. On the top of the hill, I've got some, maybe 10, 12-inch standing dead because we cut the roots when we cut the ponds in. So that's going to be this hasn't cut anything yet. And the first test is I'm going to cut in and test this and do some video cutting those smaller trees. But I mean, it's cool. But I mean, even the dogs on the front barely touch. I mean, these things aren't even a half inch. So you're not going to do a lot of jamming in and wedging like you do with a real saw. Steel also has some fuel injected saws out there. I know Chris runs. I think Chris has about 10 saws on each of his big bucket trucks.
Yep.
And I know he has 2 or 3 fuel injected steels on all his trucks.
Do you have a pole saw at all? Chainsaw on a pole?
I have a brand new Husqvarna chainsaw pole saw over here.
Okay.
That I never put gas in. It's just sitting there, man.
Very first tool review I ever did was the DeWalt pole saw chainsaw. And that thing has made me more money than any other tool that I've bought. And it is beautiful. It's well balanced. It has all the power you could want. The thing, I must be able to reach damn near 20 feet. I think it's 12 or 13 foot, and then with your 6 feet on you, right? I was going to ask you, Brian had mentioned he likes rigid. Do you have any experience with rigid at all?
I own 0 rigid tools, man. 0. I hear people say good things about them. But I don't even know where you'd buy rigid at. I guess you'd buy them probably at Lowe's.
I think Home Depot.
Home Depot.
But that was the thing for me. I think I did a segment on the Expert Council one day talking about that. And Jack had mentioned down in the States, you could get them on Amazon. Because up here in Canada, 100% only Home Depot. That's it. The only place you can get them. And for me, the nearest Home Depot is an hour and 15 minutes away. So if I need a tool, I don't want to have to drive that far to go get something.
Right. Somebody said Husqvarna or Johnson Red. I've heard they're the exact same saw.
They're owned by the same company now. They never used to.
I have Husqvarna, a lot of Husqvarna. I probably have 10 Husqvarna saws to include some, not consumer, but some like pro saws, right? Great Wolf was one of the dudes that was there running a saw when we were cutting all those limbs.
He mentioned that 4 years ago, he said.
And he said he also asked, what's the advantage of fuel injected? Whenever we go to run a saw and it never runs and then we end up screwing with them for an hour because the fuel lines are rotted out or the carburetor's dirty. None of that shit happens with fuel injected.
So is that because I guess there's no carburetor, right? Is it,
right.
Yeah, because back in the day when I didn't have a whole lot of money, basically what I mean is I was dirt poor. I learned how to rebuild many a carburetor because people would bring them into the service at Home Hardware where I worked. Then, they'd find out what the price was to rebuild the carb and they just abandon it, say, throw it in the garbage, right? So I brought it home and I'd buy a $4 carburetor kit off eBay, but it was all in the labor. The guy tore it all apart. So I taught myself how to do it. But man, you'll do some swearing when you deal with, especially those 2-strokes that have the small carburetors. And do yourself a favor and run that shit all the time, at least every couple of months.
That's our biggest, my biggest cost in labor is sitting around getting shit to run. It would be much cheaper to pay a dude to start all the saws and generators every month and just have them on a PM schedule, right? And then also have a gas cutoff. It's not viable on a saw, but on a generator. A lot of generators, when you go to turn your generator off, turn your fuel line off and let it run the fuel out of the carburetor. And also run non-ethanol fuel if you can. A lot of places you can't, but if you have a co-op, typically they have a fuel pump that has non-ethanol gas on the pump. At least one of ours here does. And then also, we don't rebuild carburetors. We just put new carburetors in them. We just have them sitting in boxes.
That's actually a good idea. And you can get them cheap now, but back in the day, it was, for me, it was okay, $4 for a carb kit, or I think it was 25 or 30 for the carb, right? So I was like, well, when you're poor and you figure my time, I can put as much time as I need to into it. And Do you use Seafoam at all?
I use Pry G and Pry D.
That is the best fuel stabilizer out there. I love that
It's
stuff.
hands down the best. It's what the United States military uses. And those guys actually interact on my social media.
Really?
Yes.
Ah, wow. That's good to know. I will reach. I love their product. I use Seafoam because it's a carb cleaner too. I call it magic in a can. If you've got something that's kind of gummed up or, just kind of running sluggish, put that shit in there. You'll see that magic white smoke come out the back for a couple of minutes and she'll purr like a kitten.
Do you put it in the carb or do you put it in the fuel tank?
In the fuel tank and run it through.
Okay.
And it's an engine lubricant too. But I broke down I did a video a while ago. I broke down Seafoam, PRI-G, and what's the cheap one you can get at Walmart everywhere? Stable. Yeah. And even though PRI-G is expensive up front, it works out way cheaper per treatment because you only use, what is it, a half an ounce or something like that?
You treat, I think it's like a tablespoon to treat 50-gallon, container, 50-gallon drum. It seems expensive because the cost, a 1 gallon.
Yeah.
You can buy it off Amazon. Camping World sells it. We have Camping Worlds all over here. I think Bass Pro Shop has it. I think Gander Mountain has it.
Nice.
But it's what the government uses.
And it's the only stuff that will bring back to life old skunky gas. It's the only one that'll do it. None of the other.
G. Yeah.
And so, Rachel, I was going to mention, I did some research on this, read some of their papers, and they'll use it in ethanol, but not E85 yet, I think, or it will, but they haven't done enough testing on it. And I might have my terminology wrong there, but I think E85 is has the most ethanol in it, doesn't it, now?
And I saw on the pump last night, there's an E88 also.
Really?
Yep.
And it's almost impossible. I know I bitch about living in Canada all the time, but anyway, that's just what I do. But it's almost impossible to get ethanol-free gas in my area now.
It's everywhere. It's part of the California Air Resource Board bullshit.
Oh.
It's why your gas cans are so fucked up now.
Well, I just bought a DURMAX generator on Amazon last night. I went on, it was $230, a 4,300 watt. It was a half price clearance. And they had, when you ordered it, it said 49 states, or you ordered one for California. I was like, oh.
Which is even worse than CARB. And CARB stands for California Air Resource Board. They're the ones that started the bullshit. Everybody else adopted it, and then California went even more crazy.
When I've only been there once, we spent 2 weeks 5 years ago. You'd get into the elevator, and there'd be a cancer warning on the elevator. And
there's a cancer warning on everything in California. Of course, I'm not going to eat these batteries.
Oh, I know. And then we went to Florida, and I told Becky, I said, man, I've said this a few times, but Florida's everything I love about California, nothing I hated. I think this is great.
Yeah, they still got Disneyland and all the other shit.
Absolutely. And they have guys that have nut sacks hanging off the back of their truck and rather inappropriate signs in there. Yeah, I was like, it's like Alberta turned up to 12. It's crazy, man.
Yep.
Great Wolf says it's because California causes cancer.
And before somebody comes on here telling us how beautiful California is, you need to realize Great Wolf Tactical left California and came to Tennessee. I left California, came to Tennessee. When we say these things, you don't need to defend it. I'm fucking older than you are. I was in California longer than you have been. I'm not attacking you. I'm attacking the crazy bullshit there. You cannot save California. You're not going to save. You are only wasting your time and spinning your wheels and literally wasting the best years of your life by trying to stay in California. Those are excuses you tell yourself. Save them for yourself.
So I know we were talking about tools, but you said you came from California. I don't know if I've ever heard your story. How did you end up in Tennessee? If you want to talk.
So I was in federal prison for 22 months in Lompoc. You know, the big bad prison where every movie, you know, they got him in Lompoc, right? I was in Lompoc.
Really?
When I came home, I had 3 years of probation.
Okay.
And I was about a week away from being off probation, and I was talking to James. I talked to James all the time prior to going to prison. James was a dealer of ours, ran a company called Light Fighter. He was the vice president. and moved a ton of our product to the Army Special Forces units and the 60th Rescue Squadron, the Blackhawks, the Night Stalkers, out of Fort Campbell. So I'm standing in the Walmart Garden Center talking to James on the phone. That's probably the last time I spoke on the phone. I don't talk on the phone at all. 15 years ago. And I said, man, I need to get out of California. He's like, come here to Camden, Tennessee. I'm like, right. Do you guys even have telephones? Like, what do you use, CBs and shit? He's like, fuck you, man. He goes, come on out here. I go, I'll come out there. He goes, you won't come out there. I go, I'll show you. And a week later, Amanda and I flew out here and rented a house. And 30 days later, we abandoned about 75% of our stuff in California and filled up 2 big, huge trucks and trailers and a 24-foot race trailer and drove to Camden, Tennessee, and started over with zero. And just rebuilt everything here.
I did the math on that, and it sounds like, did I hear you right when you said how much time you had left on probation?
3 years.
And were you able to, was that okay to travel to Camden, or was that?
No.
That's what I was getting at. I didn't want to get you in trouble.
The day I was off probation, we flew to Camden the next day.
Okay.
Came back home, and then moved 30 days later.
So did you, when you, so you started from nothing in Camden, and did you start SOE right away then and built it to this, or did you have?
No, I had SOE. I started SOE 35 years ago. I was like 16 years old.
Yes, sir.
I was kind of doing it as a hobby, and then it became real, and then, sole proprietorship, and then incorporated it, and then, basically lost it all and then started it all over again. When I came home so when you get out of prison, federal prison, and state prison probably too, you go to a halfway house. And it's really a scam, right? There's only maybe 100 beds in the halfway house.
Okay.
But there's 3,000 guys registered through the halfway house. So you're paying the halfway house the privilege to spend your last 3 months of prison or whatever, 6 months, depending on your time that you have. You live in the halfway house. To leave the halfway house, you are allowed to leave the halfway house to look for a job or to go to work.
Okay.
So when I got to the halfway house, the day I wasn't there 20 minutes, I got served with divorce papers and a restraining order, so I was not allowed to go back to my work. When I went to prison, I had about $100,000 accounts receivable every month coming in.
Okay.
So while I was gone, not running the company was still, if you did the bare minimum, was making about $100,000 a month. When I came home and got served with divorce papers, restraining order, I had no identification as to who I was. I didn't have my social security card, didn't have a driver's license, had nothing, right? I went and started looking for a job. So while on probation, while in the halfway house, I got 3 jobs working 80 hours a week the first week I was home.
Okay.
About a week and a half after that, I rented 2 sewing machines and started my business again. I called my vendors, said, hey, I'm home. I need you to front me some sample material. I don't have any money at all. We've done millions of dollars in business. I'm starting back up. We're going to do millions more. I need you to believe in me and send me. So they sent me boxes of material, and I started building gear. James got a hold of me and said, hey, I know you're home. We're going to send you $2,500. We're going to next day it to you. So when you start this is a deposit on gear if you restart your business. If you don't, start your life. Thanks for what you've done in the past. So I took the $2,500, bought a bunch of material, started building gear while working 83 jobs, 80 hours a week, started sewing out of my mom's garage, and I did $960,000 in my business that year while still working 80 hours while on probation.
Fucking right.
So there's no excuse when people are like, how do you do this? I can't. And then like when a dude asks me how to do something, I will always tell him, I'll give him 20 things, right? But he's going to immediately start telling me why he can't do those. Dead conversation. We're done.
Every time. Every time. Now and
that's why I'm so hard on guys, because I've done things. I did things in 1 year that they're not willing to do over their entire lifetime.
Yeah. So then where'd it go from there? I mean, just kept building from there. Did you move everything?
Moved to Tennessee.
Yep.
In a Ford Explorer with an open trailer and a F-250 with a 24-foot trailer. And that F-250 got 4 miles a gallon coming up through the hills through Arizona. And it got 6 miles a gallon on the way here. Like we ran out of gas. Like I had fuel on board in military tanks, 5-gallon tanks. But like we didn't have money to do shit. I mean, we came here. I think we had 2 sewing machines in the trailer, and then just like personal stuff.
So what do you say? How often do you ever get the must be nice? People look at you and say, must be nice, John, so friggin' successful.
All the time, man. I used to really light those guys up. I would tell them what I really thought.
Yeah.
But my new policy is like, I believe if you're putting out negative shit, and I'm really good with negative, I make a lot of money off negative. If you look at my social media posts, you'll see stuff where I have 1,000 comments on something negative. But when I put out something that can truly change somebody's life, that's actionable the same day, it gets like 3 comments, right? People don't interact with positivity. But I'm of the belief that if you're putting out negative shit's going to happen in your life, even if it's completely unrelated. So when somebody posts some silly shit, especially on TikTok's the worst for it. When some kid posts some stuff taking issue, I remove access to me. Like that kid, anybody that's consuming my content can literally better their life the same fucking day. So if you're coming at me with some bullshit, it's not my job to change your mind anymore. If I see you post some, I get up at 4:30 most mornings and make a video on Instagram and I post it to TikTok. And then if I'm out here in the gym by 5 and I'm looking and I see somebody talking shit and I think about him more than twice, I immediately go back and block him. He can never see my shit again.
Kick him out of the real estate in your brain, right?
That's right.
When I first started, you get some people on social media. You got to have thick skin to do it, but you just got to let it slide. And a lot of it, especially like your stuff, man, it's going to be somebody who thinks they're buddies with somebody else's channel. They don't realize you guys are friends in real life, but they just feel like that's how it is. And a lot of mine, it's somebody who likes some other company. I don't get it. I do not understand. You get in some people, and they'll make snap judgments about you instant. Like they'll know your character based on a 30-second TikTok, and I'm like, you know what? And I used to let that beat around up here. Now, like you said, I delete them. I don't even worry about it because
everybody wants to give you free business advice, yet they've never run a business. That's how every time you click on one of their profiles, they literally like you look, you're like, holy shit, I would totally never hang out with this fucking person.
Or better yet, hey, your videos, the lighting's shitty or your audio's shitty. And I'm like, so, and now I'm not trying to slam people because everybody knows if you message me, I'll help you. I will answer you. And if you, I'm not saying if you do what I say, but if you take that advice and do something great with it, I'll answer you 100 times again. But if I give you all that advice and then nothing ever comes from it, you might get a polite email the next time.
We put up 3 to 5 videos every day on YouTube. We literally shoot on Friday. We shoot all day long, on site and off site. I record. Here's a camera right here. I'm constantly making content, hours a day, right? I have a full-time dude that does nothing but cut our videos and stuff. And inevitably there'll be some guys like the music's too loud at the intro, right? So I'll click on his name. People don't realize on almost all social medias on a business account, if I click your avatar, I see every single comment you've made on my post forever. And then I'll go to your YouTube page and I'm like, hey man, I totally went to your page to see how you were doing your videos and you didn't have any videos. So I tried to look at your example, but you didn't set one. It doesn't.
That's good. I like that.
It's like the rest of your life. It doesn't exist.
That's awesome.
Like the rest of your success.
I love that idea of making content on Fridays. I've tried really hard to stick at that where I do a month's worth of videos and reviews in a day or two, because then it takes all the stress off your shoulders. You're not always dealing with that deadline of, oh, here comes the next video, here comes the next content, I
work way better in stress. Like until the building's on fire, we're not going to put in any fire stuff. Like I literally constantly work better in stress. That's how I am.
Well, you've ever since the very first time I know I told this last time, but the first time I was on with you and Nicole, because I always give that same damn advice. Have all your ducks in a row, have all the money saved up to start your business. And then you're like, just burn the fucking bridges, burn the boats, and go with nothing. And I haven't let it go since, because I think I've maybe done a disservice to some people by telling them that.
Well, it's because most people asking the question, they're not going to execute.
Well, that's true.
And we don't want some dude's wife coming to me going, hey, you told Dan that he should walk in and pull his pants down and take a shit on his boss's desk and, you know, pull all the money out of the bank account and go buy some lawn equipment, start a lawn service. And he did. And he doesn't have any money, and we're getting kicked out of the house, and Dan killed himself. Like, you don't want his wife coming to you.
It's true.
Typically, not always, but typically somebody who's going to execute, they're already doing it. They're already in motion, and they just want you to reaffirm that they're doing the right thing. So a lot of times, I mean, I don't know anybody who's super successful that is not self-made and didn't take huge risks.
100%. That's me. I walked away, and that's what I always give people the advice. Don't walk away. I fucking walked away with zero notice, and just
everybody wants to talk about plan B. When you have a plan B, you're never going to work plan A to its fullest. It's never going to happen.
No. You know what? We've got 3 businesses now, and we've already got plans. We have a 12-month plan to buy a 4th business. And 9 years ago, when we moved to Alberta, I had less than $100 in my bank account. And the only reason that happened was because we fucking worked hard, and we ended up putting ourselves in a stressful situation.
Yeah. If you want to hear it's Lot says burn the ships. It's actually burn the boats. Look up if you want to see it. It's about 2 minutes if you can find it. It's who's the big motivation? Why can't I not think of him?
Grant Cardone or
before?
No,
way bigger before him.
Yeah, I knew. Tony Robbins.
Look up on YouTube Tony Robbins. You'll find a little preacher doing the same speech that has more of the story. But Tony Robbins burned the boats, and that's what it's from. And it is the story of Cortez. And there's a couple dudes doing videos on it, but they're fucking lame compared to Tony Robbins.
I'll check it out. Brian from the Lots Project wants to know about that GoPro. Do you like it?
I have big cameras. I have like $4,000 cameras. And we shoot 95% of all of our stuff on the GoPro. I've used the GoPro since the Hero 3 Black. My son, as a little kid, had the 1s and 2s. I have shot most of our videos on, once they went to the 7, the stabilization is amazing.
Yes.
The 8 was incredible, and I still shoot some stuff multiple angles on 8. The 9 had incredible colors, but overheated. The 10 took care of the problems. I tell people to buy a 10. I use this flexible arm with this big-ass clamp, and I clamp this on roll bars. I clamp it on the sides of trailers. I just clamp it. But usually I just walk around and talk to it, and I hang it. I have it under my arm like this all the time. I always, like when I get out of the truck and I go into a restaurant or I go into Home Depot or I go into Lowe's, all places we went today, I always have this with me, and I always carry a drone also. The drone is always in the truck with a controller. I usually have it sitting there deployed, ready to just turn on and launch. There's a lot of times when we're driving down the road, we start seeing smoke. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be something cool. There's a fire or something that we can film. And then just having other angles. Anytime we go to Home Depot or Lowe's and they're running the forklift or we're loading and unloading a bunch of shit, I always have the drone in. And I try to drone also, like when we're walking in, I'm like, here we are at, Home Depot. Here we are at Tractor Supply. So I have an entrance and exit, and then during also inside, while we're, loading up the cart full of lumber today and stuff like that. Yes, I do like, and you can get this camera for about $350. I would tell you to get at least 3 extra batteries and get a triple gang charger, right? So it'll come with one that charges 1 battery. The GoPro brand stuff typically tends to be better than the generic stuff, but you will not be disappointed with this. And even if you have, a good Canon or an XA20 or something, when you have like a real camera with mics and shit, you'll still use this all the time. I forgot and left this outside on the 4-wheeler last night, looked around about 5 minutes, realized it was out there, and it rained on it all night long. Like I can put this underwater.
They're made to hold up with.
The stabilization's really good. Like I can put these things on a razor and run 75 miles an hour, and the stabilization in it is amazing.
I got to check that out. I bought one a few years ago, and I'd use it for doing snow removal videos, in the middle of winter. People love them, just watching that snow blow. But I never got into it. And you talk about making content. If people are wondering what to make content about, there's times I'll walk into Costco, I'll see 10 items that I'm like, oh, there's a good prepper items. I shoot 15 seconds of soundless video, and then I go home and do a voiceover afterwards. And that turns into, and of course you got me on the friggin' TikTok bandwagon, and I'm going to be more subscribers on TikTok pretty soon than I am on YouTube, which is crazy.
So Lowe's, Home Depot, and Tractor Supply have affiliate links. So if you're shooting videos in those companies, you can put a link to where if they click through and buy product, whatever they buy, that's an affiliate code for you. Now, if you don't have those, you could put links to those. Hey, this is a video I shot in Home Depot. Here's the same items on Amazon. Anytime they click that, it doesn't matter what they buy. If they click any of those links, anything they buy in the next 24 hours, you get 1% to 2% of.
And you know what's great about that? Those damn links work for you for years. You just set, review videos. There's money in review videos without, I put them up there, and they just every single night. I bought 2 years ago, my wife wanted to hang Halloween banners in the vinyl siding. So I looked on Amazon for vinyl siding hooks, and I found a pack for $4.99. They're the craziest thing. They just slide up under the vinyl siding. You don't have, Anyway, I did a 3-minute throwaway video on that. Those have made me more money in Amazon affiliate links because every time, almost every night, I think it's 1 o'clock. If I'm up, I check it, and it updates what sold for the day, what people have bought. You'll see a package of those things, and then you'll see 15 other items because it also tracks anything that person bought on that purchase. So that little $4.99 item, people go and look at that video, then they go buy that item, then anything else they bought at Amazon, as long as they haven't clicked any other affiliate links, ends up making me money. Why wouldn't you want to do that?
That's right. That's right. Great Wolf. That's good information. I did not know. Number one, I didn't know Walmart had an affiliate, and I definitely didn't know that it was 4%. Now, with what Tim said, it updates everything you bought, right? It shows us what was bought. It does not show us who bought it.
Yes, good point.
A lot of people are buying embarrassing things on Amazon. We see those.
We don't know who did.
Unless it's Great Wolf. A lot of times I'll see crazy shit. I'm like, oh, that's definitely Dakota.
Oh, that lube again. That was him, wasn't it? Damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And I forget to mention that because you do. Sometimes you see some items. Yeah, I have no idea who bought it.
Because they do have a 55-gallon drum of Astroglide.
And it's cheaper apparently to buy it. At least that's what I've been told.
Yes, yes.
Because us preppers, we love to have large containers of
Costco
everything.
hates it when you fly your drone inside. So I've actually been in buildings where I'm like, hey, I'm shooting this video for your company. Do you mind if I bring the drone in? And a lot of times the person you're talking to is worried that he's going to be in trouble for allowing it. With the drone, you don't have to fly the drone. You can take your drone and just move around and walk, and it will look like you were flying very stable and slow because the gimbal on the drone is amazing. A lot of times I'll put the drone on the hood of my car or on the roof of my car and just drive. Like we wanted to get the school tunnel, right? Yep. But I didn't have time to fly it, so I just set the drone on the hood and we just drove through. Your viewer will not know that you were carrying that drone. So don't even ask. Allowed versus able. Don't fly the drone. Just walk around with the drone.
It's way easier to ask for forgiveness than permission, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of you just play dumb. So that leads me into another question. I saw Amanda in the comments earlier. You guys do some abandoned exploration sometimes too, do you?
We do.
Yes. There's another good example of permission and forgiveness, is it?
So state hospital is the modern day code for asylum. And a lot of the state hospitals are asylums. There is one particular one that we were at recently, and it used to be 1,100 acres. It's about 126 now. There is a loony bin on one side with thousands of patients, and there is an 1880 falling down, peeling paint full of asbestos asylum. All the craziest shit happened here. So we go in and film it, and people are like, how'd you get permission there? They're just mad that you're willing to do something they're not willing to do. And we were at a Bigfoot hunting thing, right? Dogman Bigfoot symposium the other day. And there's a guy from this abandoned group, right? And I'm like, hey, have you been to the so-and-so asylum? He's like, oh, no, you're not allowed to go there. I go, you can totally go there. What are you talking about? Oh, you're not supposed to go there. There's security. I'm like, I've been there a bunch. Okay, I get it. Okay, do your thing, man. Nice to meet you. It's just allowed versus able.
What were you talking about? The Bigfoot thing? I missed that a little bit or didn't quite catch it.
Dogman, Bigfoot, Skinwalker, Shapeshifter.
Yeah.
different cultures call it different things, right? There was about 450 people at this seminar that I went to. My Amanda and I went to last weekend with William from Permapastors.
Okay.
And he is good friends with this dude that is called the Joe Rogan of the paranormal. And this guy's got millions of followers, man. So I wanted to meet this guy just to talk social media.
Yeah.
And William was close. So I went in, we drove down there because I wanted to see William. So we just went and hung out.
Is that Billy or is that somebody different?
His son.
Okay.
His son. So I met these guys that have a show and have way bigger audiences than we have. And we're not really even talking the genre. We're talking, okay, how did you do this? What are you doing that I'm not doing? And what am I doing that you're not doing, right? Just to have the conversation.
I've reached out to, do you know Les Stroud, Survivor Man?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been turned down by his representatives twice now, but he's a fellow Canadian. And so I keep pushing. I have people on my list that I reach out to every 3 or 4 months to come on the show. That's how I got William Fortune, from 1 second after he's coming on in a couple of weeks so you just keep reaching out. But anyway, I want to pick his brain because when he was on Joe Rogan, he was talking about he didn't necessarily call them Bigfoot, but he called them unidentified encounters, right?
Uh-huh.
And
so the way you get him is you need to talk to him face to face and stop going through his people.
Yes.
So you need to find where he is. And the paranormal dude that I just met has probably interviewed him already. And that's how we're going to get him on your show, right?
Yes.
And then there's a lot of other people that we have access to that would totally go on your show. Like, I don't know the 1 second after guy, but there's a book called Lights Out. And that's my boy. Like, we're friends, like real friends.
Really?
Then the dude who wrote the Going Home series, he'll totally go on your show.
I've had him already.
Huh?
I had Chris already.
Okay. And then 299 days, Glenn Tate. We can totally put you with him.
That'd be awesome because we're running a book club. So we do a book once a month. We do it. We're working through the Going Home series right now. But so Mike Rowe is my unicorn. I keep trying to come up with original ways to reach out to him.
Mike
to get
Rowe?
him on my show. Yes. So he's the one
So Kelly, Green Force Holsters.
Okay.
Who we promote. That's Christian Green. His niece is in his program. He has read 5 or 6 of Kelly's letters on his show, and he has sponsored her for several of her school things.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to put together an episode on how to reach out to guests because I've learned a shit ton. I've learned what not to do. I'll tell you that too. But one of the best ways is, how we shoot the shit for 2 or 3 minutes before or after when you're done, just say, hey, who do you think would be a good fit for the show?
Yeah.
And you will be surprised because, again, people say, how do you get people on your show? Because I ask them. William Fortune, I sent him an email. He's really into metal detecting. So but you need to legitimately be interested in people if you want to.
Right. You better know something about it.
But don't be fake. Like I love the idea of metal detecting. I sent him an email and I said, hey, I'd love to know what your greatest find for metal detecting is because I want to know that, and so we got to follow up and we chatted and but don't just do that. Don't be disingenuous about it. Right. You have to actually want to know about these people because if you don't, it'll show through and you'll be a phony.
Yep. Well, it goes back to entertain, educate, and equip, right? That's what I do every night. I'm going to entertain you by saying some crazy shit. You're going to be like, I wish I could say that, or I can't believe he said that. I'm going to educate you. You're going to ask me about product. We're going to have some conversation about something that you're going to learn something. And then there's always got to be a call to action. Every single thing you do, you need a call to action because you're failing if you're not, right? Did I entertain you? Did I educate you? Please use my Amazon link. Can you refer one friend? Did I do this job beyond your expectations? Can you just text 2 of your friends right now and tell them about me? Tag me on their social media. You always have to have a call to action. Always. Join my email list.
You might not know this, but I'm a trained pastor. So I went to university for 4 years, took a Bachelor of Religion, took a whole bunch of public speaking, preaching courses, right? And in there, they talk about explanation, illustration, application. And it's exactly the same thing. Teaching, entertaining, and a call to action of some sort. Yep. But it's absolutely 100% universal across the board.
Yeah.
Chris says networking starts with candid conversations between 2 human beings.
Yep.
That man right there, he's a fellow Albertan. I didn't know him from Adam. Last winter, he reached out to me. He'd been following me a little bit. And he said, I'm driving through. I'm like 4 or 5 hours. I can't remember exactly how far. He's about 5 hours away. He said, can I stop for coffee? I mean, that's a big step for him to reach out to somebody he didn't even know. Well, we're good buddies now. So he came for 10 minutes to drink coffee in my shop. We stood there and froze our ass off for 2 or 3 hours. He came up and spent the whole weekend with me this summer. We worked together the whole weekend. He's the one that set me up with the getting the stuff across the border shipping thing. You know, he told me. So real life conversations, man. Yeah, that's awesome.
That's cool. Freedom Media, HH Homes.
Yes.
So there's a lot of information out there on HH Homes. As you know, the structure is no longer there. Much of it was a facade. There is a post office right there. And I believe the post office has a basement and a little bit of a crawl space. But there's not a lot of it left. But there's enough of it that you could definitely recreate like a haunted house or something. That would be totally cool.
That's the serial killer with all the traps and things in his home.
Yep.
Man, we should do a Halloween episode sometime, John. Does Amanda come on? Does she do that kind of thing, or is she?
She would for that probably. Because
my wife would come on. I'm into horror and into all that kind of stuff, and my wife is even more so. That would be a lot of fun.
I've got a friend that does a horror podcast. It's actually pretty big.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the?
I don't remember the name of it. Or
I'm sorry. I knew I shouldn't. I put you on the spot. But I would. Oh yeah. Here's the other thing. When you're a content creator, and you're good at this, did you ever feel like you got pigeonholed where you had to do certain things? Because I know I can tell you love to do creative outlet and that kind of stuff. And
no, we always just did whatever the hell we wanted to do. Like we just turned the camera on. If you watch my first probably 1,000 videos, there's no editing to them. Like they're an hour long. We would just upload them. We would make breakfast every morning, and 4 or 5 of us would just stand around and talk about whatever. We did a podcast called Pulling the Thread. There was 126 episodes of that. They also went to YouTube, I believe. And we just ran those raw, man. And people would just leave comments. We would print them out, and that would be the podcast for the next day. And we did it. We did it 5 days a week, 126, and then we just stopped. But no, we've always just kind of been like, we're going to do whatever the fuck we want to do, and you can watch it or you can not watch it.
So
and it used to work. It doesn't work anymore. And now there's all kinds of bullshit. Like I'm totally suppressed. I go live on YouTube almost every night, and nobody even knows we're live. Like our views, like we went from getting thousands of views to getting 100 views.
It's so weird. But that's why I created my podcast, because I mean, I love tools and I could talk about tools all day long, but I also want to talk about generators and preparedness and fucking post-apocalyptic movies. And that gives me the chance to talk about it. And the fun thing about a podcast is, you know what, you do the content, and if somebody doesn't like it, they just skip that episode this week, right?
Yeah. And I have poor service here. When I walk out of the building, I can play a podcast or an audiobook, but I can't play, YouTube or social media. So that works really well for guys that are, working outside, mowing lawns or truck drivers or whatever.
Are you an audiobook guy?
Yeah.
What have you read lately?
I've listened to, and it's all prepper fiction, everything.
Oh, so me too. So, okay, go through them or whatever. Whatever's your favorite.
Literally all of them.
Yeah. Do you will you tell me what your favorite is, or is that not something you want to say live?
Man, I like all of them, man. I thought 299 Days was great. I think the last one was absolutely fucking terrible, and he should delete book 11.
The Generals? It's fucking awful. The first 10 books were incredible, and then that was like, what is this? Anyway, yes. Yeah.
I like all of the Going Home series. I like all of that author's stuff. I'm currently listening to one called A World Slowed, Rick Tippins. Just because it's like one of the last ones that's in there. I look for things that have like at least 3 books in the series. Yeah. Zombie Rules. I thought Zombie Rules was fucking awesome. I thought Zombie Rules was great.
Nate LeMaster from Two Chicks Homestead, he's recommended it to me a few times. I haven't listened to it yet, but I got
Zombie Rules?
Yeah.
He's always. I told him to watch it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Maybe not.
No, you did.
I know him and his wife.
Yeah. They're great.
They've been here several times.
There is some freeze-dried Colby Jack cheese that came from Aaron. So I got to listen to that. Yeah.
They've got a podcast too.
Yeah. Oh, and they do so good. Yes. Check out Aaron. We joke about them. They're called the Two Chicks Homestead, but that's their daughters. We give them grief over their name because we can, they're on the Fireside Freedom podcast with us too. Just great people. Going Home's probably my favorite. I hate that. It was the one that broke my cut my teeth on. It was the very first one, and yeah, 299 Days is great. And then I've read some older stuff too, like On the Beach, which is from the 50s. Have you read that? No. Man, if you want to kick to the nuts, that's a tough one. That is it's as bleak as. Do you ever read The Road or watch the movie The Road?
I saw the movie.
Yeah. So you know how you feel when you're done with that? Like that's how you feel with that one.
So there's another one, David Crawford, and none of these are on audiobooks. I don't know why, but he started as short stories, which became Lights Out.
Oh, so that's the same
David
way Christmas stuff started. Okay.
But he wrote a short book called The Bug Out, and that's it ends pretty badly.
Really? I'll have to. So have you you done One Night? 1 Second After. Have you read that, or have you?
Well, I listened to all three of them.
Yeah. Sorry, I always say read because I was a paper reader for years, and now I'm strictly audio, 100% audio. But so that's a 3-book series. But he did another one called 48 Hours, I believe is the right one.
Yeah, I think I listened to it.
It's about a coronal mass ejection. That's a bleak book too.
Yeah.
I don't want to ruin it for people, but definitely check it out.
I'm quoted on the back of Lights Out. So is James.
Are you really? I don't know if I have Lights Out on my phone or not. I know there's one I've started.
It's not on audiobooks.
Oh, it's not?
No.
How? Any idea? Or just they never done it?
He hasn't read it. Jack Spirko was going to and realized he didn't have time to do it. I don't know why it's not on audiobooks, but it's not.
I had when I had Angry American or Chris Weatherman there, when I had him on, I tried to razz him because Duke Fontaine, the narrator on there.
Yeah, I listen to anything he's done.
Oh, so according to Chris, he is a Hollywood guy we would recognize, but he goes by a pseudonym because he doesn't want to be associated with, prepper fiction or whatever, right? So I was like, huh. And then the 1 second after the other 2 books, I was listening to the guy and I'm like, who is this narrator? And it was, do you remember the old show Perfect Strangers from the 80s? Belky and Larry. Anyway, the guy was.
I do. Okay,
yeah. So Belky, he was the guy doing the narrating, and he was friggin' awesome. He was great. Wow. So what? What do you got on your wish list, John? Anything you don't have yet that you want to buy? I know. Bring us back to tools since we've been talking about everything else.
Man, I guess more property. I'd like to add a excavator.
Okay.
Yeah. That's really it, man. I need 3 sheep right now. I need 3 hair sheep. We've got a tractor out here. I need to start, moving them around, confined grazing, mobilization grazing.
We are official. I've said it a few times. We're looking for land in Tennessee. So our plan is to, Nicole's got an Airbnb down there. We're going to spend a month at for a couple of years and see how much we like it. And then, legally we can only spend 6 months of the year down there. So, we'll go from there.
Society collapses.
Well, yeah, then we can do whatever we want, but within reason, of course. But I don't know. We've been just about 2 hours. I think we've done really well.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I got to go do my live feed too.
Oh shit! Yeah. So yeah, no, thank you, John. If you're up for it, we'll do it again someday.
Amanda says she wants beehives. I guess we're getting beehives. We have some hives here. We've never populated them. And we've got a dude local here that will bring them out and set them here. We just need to do it. People think, I'm going to get bees. Having bees is like having another pet. Like you have to take care of them.
My grandfather, when I was just a little kid, all of a sudden these boxes showed up in his back garden. I didn't know what they were. And anyway, about a month later, he passed away, my grandfather. It turned out they were bees. I was always intrigued with them. And then they were gone. And I always thought my grandmother got rid of them because she wouldn't know how to look after them. Well, it was just a farmer who would bring them in, or not a beekeeper who would bring them in and, for the month or two to pollinate and then took them away. But ever since, I'd love to get into bees someday for sure.
Yeah. I saw somebody said enemies, foreign and domestic. Yeah. Matt Bracken, that was a 3-series book. Enemies, foreign and domestic enemies and foreign enemies. Those are all great books. You should also read. It's not on audiobook. Somebody during the CUFIS did like the first I think, first 80 chapters of Unintended Consequences on YouTube. So you can you can listen to the audio, and it's a great book. You should totally check it out.
Okay, I will. Unintended. I'm going to type that into the comments here.
It's a huge book, man. It's big.
And what's it about?
It's about how we came from freedom to the crazy gun laws that we have right now. It's about all the ATF stuff and how they're just chipping away your freedoms and your rights just piece by piece.
What about World Made by Hand? You ever listen to that?
I have. He did another one. There was World Made by Hand, and then there was the other one about the witch or whatever.
Yeah, she was like a hippie in Vermont or something, or a hippie.
Yeah, with all the power and everything out. Yeah,
was it good?
Did. Yeah, I enjoyed them.
I looked at. I
toyed with them.
Yeah. Well, you're still talking about the world. Yeah, because he had another series he did later. But yeah, the World Made by Hand, I think, has 3 in the series, and it's so good. He's really good at writing characters.
Yeah.
And I looked at, I thought about reaching out to him to bring him on the show, but I'm not sure if he is very interviewable anymore. I don't know.
So Matt Bracken was a SEAL intel officer, and he wrote those books, Enemies, Foreign and Domestic, and almost everything in the book has actually come to play after the fact, as though it was a playbook. And then he is on a live feed, like she says, like Freedom says there, with Fairfowl. I actually have met Fairfowl. Fairfowl has some of our gear. He was in the collapse of Argentina as well as Venezuela.
Was he on Jack's show one time?
I'm sure he has been.
Okay, I remember. I wouldn't have been able to tell you the name. You know what I mean? But all right, I think we should call it a night here, John, because I want to get you on so you can get to your live stream. But this is awesome. For the 3 people who don't know who the hell John Willis is.
That's more than that, man.
How do they find you?
I run special operations equipment. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Locals, Float, MeWe, Getter. I'm literally everywhere. We put up 3 to 5 videos on YouTube every day. I do a live feed on YouTube almost every night, sometimes on Instagram. I do a 4:30 video on Instagram and TikTok. We make gear. You don't need any gear. That's fine. Self-Reliance Festival happens here on the property, October 1st and 2nd. If you want to come meet Tim in person, he will be there presenting October 1st and 2nd, Camden, Tennessee.
Perfect. Thanks, man. I can't wait to meet you in person. We
met.
We did meet. We did the run by. Hey, John, how are you? Appreciate you. Have a good day. But I'll at least actually, I don't know if I shook your hand. I can't remember if I did, but I'll be able to say hello at least this time. So
no, we'll sit down and have some meals.
Oh, that'll be fun. I cannot wait. And like I said, I'm going to be at TAC Response for 4 days. I leave prepper camp Sunday at supper time, drive straight to Camden for Monday morning, 4-day TAC Response. And then when does SRF start? Is it Friday or Saturday?
Saturday, Sunday. But we're going to open our place up. Like, we're going to have something here. There's a class going on for all the planting and installations that Friday. But we'll have people start getting here in town on Tuesday.
Okay. Well, if you can put me to work, then I'll show up Thursday. If you can find me something to do, I'll help out. So,
and I mean, even at TAC Response, you're going to go have dinner with the class every night. I mean, you can blow over here and come here too.
Okay, we will. I'll chat with you again before, I'm sure. So,
yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks, John.
Awesome, man.
Have a good night, bud.
Thanks, guys.
Take care, guys.